Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Michael and I are very excited to be joined today by Tim Perkins, CEO of Sourcifi. Tim is an experienced senior executive in the supply chain industry, and he helps companies buy and sell equipment, products, and services with better financial results. And the three of us are also announcing our partnership to help companies reduce their fuel spend by 10 to 23% net cost savings. So we're excited to work with Tim in that area. How are you doing today, Tim?
Good. Thanks for having me on. It's been exciting last couple of weeks getting this thing launched and partnering with you guys. I'm really excited for the future.
Absolutely. We are as well. And our big topic for today is going to be why companies spend too much on their equipment, products, and services. So, Tim, just to kick things off, you and I met a couple of years ago and we collaborated on some things prior to all of us three partnering on fuel reduction for trucking fleets. For those who don't know you yet, tell us a little bit about your career journey and what you're doing now.
Yeah, sure. So most of my network knows me as the supply chain headhunter. So I was a headhunter for almost a decade doing director level to C-level roles with Fortune 500 organizations. So transportation, asset-based companies to big box distribution companies. So that was what I was known for. I just grew a huge LinkedIn network of about 37,000 connections that are only within supply chain. And so that allowed me to really grow my network. From there, launched a trucking company with two partners and was able to grow it almost to $100 million in the first 3 years without any private equity or venture capital, and went from zero to almost 500 assets. And so in that endeavor, I was tasked with finding truck parking, equipment, day cabs, trailers, different types of products and services. And I realized it wasn't as easy unless you have a network and where to find these opportunities. And so as I started helping organizations find equipment, I realized how much some companies were overpaying simply because they didn't know where some of the really good product and equipment service suppliers are located. Because some truck companies have great products, but if they don't market or sell, no one might even know they exist. And so, and that really gave me the passion to be able to help organizations source from needing warehouse space to equipment to truck parking, merger and acquisition opportunities, all things that I've done in my past. I just didn't realize there was that gap of experience within organizations. And so that brings me where we're at today is, fuel cost savings is another huge piece of the expense that transportation organizations have. And so being able to offer a solution to increase that profit margin is something that I'm passionate about to be able to give back to customers, but that they're really excited to hear more about, because at a time like this in our industry, sometimes additional revenue is not always possible. So where can you find cost savings? And I think within your fuel is a really good opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the number one cost of operating a big rig. So that's a big one. But you also work in the warehousing space, racking, equipment, across the board services. So it's fun to follow what you're doing and also partnering on this fuel front as well. So Michael,
I was gonna say real quick, I've got a T-shirt of yours, Tim, that I think you could make it a little bit longer. I mean, it's only got like 20 things that you can help people get on it, and
it was funny. I had to fit it on my son. My youngest is 7 years old, and you look at his back, and it's just like all the way down, and it's funny watching, but.
It's very similar to my Van Halen World Tour T-shirt that I had from the 70s on the back, listing the same.
Well, it was funny. It's just, when you have a network, and I know we'll get into it, but it's like really understanding how to maximize relationships and understand what your customers' needs are, not transactional needs, but if you need a truck, well, what do you need the truck for? Well, I need the truck because I haul reefers. Well, why is that important? Well, because my customers need this type of product. And so when you really start learning what the purpose is of their business, you can offer solutions that really initially was not the beginning of the conversation,
right.
But you start to realize, oh, this is where I can really help your business. And so those needs of saying, hey, how can I help you? Versus I have a truck or I have a warehouse space, just how can I help you? that really created that. Well, Tim, can you actually find warehouse space, or we need to transload in Laredo, or I'm needing a minority owned carrier to check a certain box of where we're EEOC compliant. There's just different things that you can be asked that if you just simply say, how can I help you? It'll be interesting to see how much your customer feels you care about their business versus the transaction.
Sure, absolutely. No,
Excellent point.
relationships are extremely important. And helping people at the end of the day, make more money,
That's it.
make better profit margins, feed their families more food, whatever it is. And so, Michael, question for you. I know you guys go back a little ways. How did you guys first get connected?
So I know it was on What the Truck on the podcast, Freightways What the Truck, right? But I to tell you the truth, I had to ask Tim. And I mean, the funny thing is, because we would do like 3 or 4 or 5 interviews in the same show, right? And so a lot of them were so quick. And right after you met this person, and Tim was actually in the studio, he drove up. We live within probably, I don't know, 30 miles of each other. He's in Georgia, just south of Chattanooga, and I'm just north. But you meet these people for 5 minutes, and then you're already meeting a new person you've never met before. That goes out of your mind so fast. It's really difficult. And I hate that, because there's so many people. I hate it and I love it, because there's so many people that I met like Tim that now we're really starting to connect. But we could have, for the last 2 years, if it wasn't that I was going to now interview 5 more people the next day, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's kind of fun. But that's
that show was huge for us and me personally, because I know at What the Truck, you have to be picky with who you have on. Right. It can't just be an open, anyone that wants to be on, you can be on. So it really validated a little bit of what we were doing. It validates what I'm doing now, being able to have these conversations, because, it's one thing to hop on a podcast with, 50 followers. It's another thing to hop on a podcast with, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers and subscribers, because you're risking your brand and reputation having us on. And so that really was big for me. So I do remember that it was October 2022, because it was like a day of credibility that this was worth the world, or the supply chain world, hearing our story. And so definitely appreciated that opportunity, even though for you it was in and out. For us, it was big because of the value of the brand and what you're a part of.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. From my perspective, I regret that it was such an in and out type of thing, because I'm about relationships and helping people and networking and that type of stuff. And there's so many other people that I've never reconnected with that I would love to. And, I remember you being there after you said, you sat right in between us. Right. And you can't really forget that experience, because most people don't know you're really doing, the bar splits up against that thing, right? You got, I mean, it's a pretty precarious setup behind that desk. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, and most of those interviews, I'd wanted to talk for hours and hours and hours and keep doing it. But I mean, that was the point of the show, and still is the point of that show, right? Is to give those entrepreneurs and get into the personalities and people that are making this drive to try and inspire other people. That's what Andy and I are trying to do, and you're trying to do right now. It's inspire people, right? Inspire people that, listen, sustainability and business go hand in hand. They can go hand in hand. You can actually make money by being more sustainable and doing the right things.
Absolutely. Yep. Michael and I first met through Freightways What the Truck as well.
That's right.
Then just, started talking here and there every once in a while. Came on together, I think, 3 different times, 2 on yours and 1 on our show. And then we just kept on kind of talking, fortunately. Yeah. And
well, we did that whole Van Halen Schroeder collaboration, musical collaboration too.
We did. Yep. I was Schroeder on the piano.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
Trying to play a track for a punk rock song that Michael had coined. So it was an interesting collaboration, that's for sure.
It was in the style of the Ramones, is what it was.
Yes, it was. Absolutely. I'll never forget that. Yeah, but I've been on the buy side and the sell side during my 29-year career, right? And I've seen some deals where companies saved millions of dollars or made millions of dollars. I mean, these transactions. And like you said, a lot of it takes strategy, you know, and knowing what are you going for, what's the long game? What's the long game here? And then you figure it out and put it together and so forth. So Tim, question for you. Why do you think companies spend too much on their equipment, products, and services?
It's a tricky question because I never would want to tell, a customer things they don't do well. I have to be careful. And I don't think it's ever intentional. I think the top two things are one, education. They just don't know. You create a CapEx budget. This is what we've always spent. This is what this looks like. And sometimes you trust your relationship that you're just hoping you're getting a fair price. And the truth is that, we have a truck shop in Tifton, Georgia. Most of the country has no idea where Tifton, Georgia is. But there is a truck dealer in Tifton, Georgia that has great equipment at some of the lowest prices I've ever seen. And so I think a lot of it is opening their eyes up to all of the opportunities within equipment, warehouse space, racking, truck parking that they just didn't know existed. And because most sourcing and procurement departments in an organization are not incentivized by cost savings, they're just paid a salary to go purchase it based on budget. They're not incentivized to go save money. That's not part of their role. To where it only makes sense to save money because my service is a free service to customers. My customers do not pay me, or I don't invoice a customer. I'm helping product and service suppliers market what they have that most organizations don't know are out there. And so I think a lot of it is simply just education and knowing the market because it changes. Interest rates change, supply and demand changes, whether you're using chassis, the type of transportation. And so it's just keeping up with the products and suppliers that are out there.
Absolutely. No, I was involved in one deal that was a $20 million 3-year contract that had been going on for about 15 years. And we came in and strategized and put together a new plan, and it went to 11.5 million in 3 years. So that's a big time, gain, but there was a little bit of pushback. Like, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Like it's a new approach, and just not knowing that it's a possibility is a lot of it.
And we had a deal, I have a trucking company that buys around 100 trailers a quarter. And, they had a budget of, $48,000 a trailer. And I came in at $45,000 a trailer. So 3,000 at 100 is 300,000 in cost savings times 4 quarters. So I'm saving you $1.2 million and I'm not charging you anything. Now, say my business is making $500 a trailer because I'm helping someone. I'm winning. The customer's 100% winning by 1.2 million. And then the person that has the trailers is like, wow, I just sold 400 trailers. So this truly is a model of a win-win-win situation because everyone's selling what they're passionate about. They're buying at a cost savings. And I get to do what I love to do, which is connect buyers and sellers together and build those relationships.
Absolutely. I love helping companies win and people win in the process as well. So, Michael, as you know, fuel is the number one cost of operating a big rig. And you and I discuss sustainability topics each week, including our work with cyber fuels with an average 26.73% mile per gallon increase for trucking fleets. This is a game changer technology. So
every time you say that number, I shake my head and go, it's crazy. Crazy good stuff.
It's awesome. It's crazy and awesome. And that's the biggest challenge is companies can't believe it. So we have to go through study after study after study. And we have a money back guarantee of at least 10% fuel economy improvement. That's an easy bet. But we're getting 10 to 23% net cost reduction on fuel spent. And that's the real deal. And I know people have a hard time believing it. And it's a different technology. It's a breakthrough technology. So, I'll have fun doing that. And we're all working together now on that. It's a big time impact for companies.
It is. Let me say this real quick, because Tim said something the other day when we were having a conversation, and we talked, it's almost like it seems too good to be true, right? And sometimes things seem too good to be true because they're too good to be true. And sometimes they seem too good to be true because it's the ground floor of buying Amazon stock. That's kind of what Tim said the other day, right? That's kind of where we're at, right? So I'm going to steal that, Tim, and throw it out there and give you credit all at the same time.
Right. I mean,
Yeah, no, it is true. It's very true. You know, organizations come up, and if you look in the last 10 years, all of the successful companies at one time, there was doubt. You know, Amazon started off as a book company. You know, you look at just the internet in general, you look at what phones can do. There's just tons of businesses out there that start off with doubt because it's just like, there's no way information is going to be at the tip of your hands. There's no way I'm going to be able to, what's on my phone, show up on my TV in the same second. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, everyone can do this now. And so I'm excited to be at the ground floor of something so incredible, and letting my network know that this does exist. This is not too good to be true. It's just good. And I think with our current market conditions, I think cost savings should now be at the top of everybody's strategy list, because the future is unknown. We live in a very volatile market within supply chain and logistics. And I think when you can reduce one of your top expenses as a company, that's something that whether you buy or don't buy, it's worth the time to learn, because this kind of stuff does exist. And if you can come in now, you get great service, great pricing, and you get to increase those cost savings.
Yeah, we're not asking you to put in your bank account number so we can deposit $5 million into your bank account. It's a real easy, legitimate thing, right?
That's right. Now, we've treated over 70 million gallons of fuel, but the question always comes, why aren't you everywhere? Well, we're not everywhere yet because you haven't done it yet. So
that's exactly right.
We will be everywhere at some point. But anyways, Tim, I have a question for you. What would you say are like top 3 keys to reducing your spend on equipment, products, and services?
Yeah. So one, understand the market. What is the current market? What is high in demand, low in supply? And when you understand the supply and demand of your market, whether it's, all right, man, there is no warehouse space right now that's temperature controlled in Dallas, Fort Worth, which is the case, which means if you do find it, you probably are going to pay a premium. So it's understanding those expectations to really set your bar, because you have these companies that create these CapEx budgets, but they're not really doing all the due diligence that they could do. So I think education is probably the top thing. Number 2, which is how I've made my entire career, it's maximizing your network. It is, how can I get other perspectives from across industries of suppliers to really learn what is out there. What did you pay for your truck? Hey, Tim, you started a company in the middle of the pandemic when equipment was at an all-time high. You had no tax returns. You had no business credit. How did you get 500 trucks and trailers with nobody giving you investment capital? That's probably a good question to ask me, to say, oh, okay, these are the companies that have these type of financial terms. Here's the companies that will overlook your history. And some people just don't know because they're not looking at their network, asking questions. And so I think of taking advantage of your network and educating yourself on the market, and setting realistic expectations. It's been funny watching people sometimes say, well, Tim, this is what I think I should pay. I'm like, great. I'm glad you think you should pay that. However, that's just not what that's just not what it is. And so I think a lot of it is just understanding the market, educating yourself, and then making sure you're maximizing your network to get the most accurate, up-to-date data.
Absolutely.
Andy, if I could just for a second, Tim, it occurs to me that this is that what you're doing there at Sourcifi is really something that your procurement, if you were in a business, your procurement department really doesn't have the time to do, right? I mean, is it kind of like they don't see certain procurement things as those that they need to investigate far enough because it's that important to their business. They just need this new cog to put into the machine to go and get it in here so we can get back to our core business. When in reality, sourcing or sourcifying everything that you need is essential to the core of your business. They see it as an ancillary thing. And so the investment in making sure you have people in there that have smelled diesel before or walked through, forklift rubber, dust on the dock before, and that type of stuff, understand those things like you do and have that deep tribal knowledge of those. Is that kind of is it.
That
right?
is 100%. I work normally with procurement departments that say, Tim, I had one. And if you go through my testimonials on my website or my recommendations on LinkedIn, you'll see these large publicly traded companies use my service. And when I talk to these procurement managers or directors of procurement, they might be new in the role 6 months and they've never even been in trucking procurement, but they're tasked with finding equipment that has to be in this budget. And so I'm their best friend. Tim, you're going to make me look good. Go find this equipment. You'll make my job easier. And now they can focus on other tasks that they have to do in their team. And so you're absolutely right. They have a budget, a CapEx. Here's my equipment needs in each location. Tim, if you're going to not charge me $1 and go find it, yeah, I'll do it. And my team will do it. And that's where it's been awesome, because I'm doing a service really just to help the procurement department out. And I've had some really large publicly traded companies call me that honestly, it was a validation that what I'm doing is a need, because I never would have thought in a million years someone would take a career known headhunter and trust them to go find their equipment for their multi-billion-dollar trucking company or their warehouse space. And it just tells me there is a gap in knowing how to source and knowing how to have a network. And, I didn't know what God was doing at the time, but with 37,000 connections in supply chain, I thought I'd always be looking at resumes. And instead it was like, nope, there's a much bigger plan with your network. And so it's been a great first 30 days being able to utilize it and maximize it.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
And Michael, you ran trucking fleets, right? And you still purchase products and services from the buying side. What are some of the biggest challenges or frustrations from trying to buy things,
I'll tell you what, it's everything that Tim just said, right? Is because now I'm doing it as an entrepreneur, right? So when I was doing it running a company, I hate to say it, but there were times in my career back in the day where I was just like Tim said, I had a CapEx, and so I made it fit inside there and I made it done. I didn't maximize it as well as I probably could. And I don't think anybody really does until that purse string is your purse string. Now it changes it. I don't care how much you think you're being fiduciary in your responsibility to the company's money. You're not until it's coming out of your bank account. Then it really matters, right? And so now I really see what he's saying about that. And so the frustration to me now is the fact that I never learned all those skills that Tim has. So I know I've bought things and then I'll see it cheaper somewhere else or this because I just needed to get it done. Mm-hmm. Right. It's the frustration is the lack of time to really establish those connections and find out where those deals, I don't want to call them deals, but they are, I guess, but to find out where I can maximize the value of my dollar and get the maximum quality for that dollar at the same time. I just don't have the time to do that. Right. And that's really the frustration.
And the education isn't always available because you
no,
have
it's
fleets.
not. You learn it after you're done. It's a lesson, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a list of fleets that I know when their trailers come off a lease that they have to sell them. So there's no website that's going to give you this information, but I know 28 chassis are coming off of this fleet in 2 months. I got 100 trucks coming off of this fleet.
Sure.
So I'm already actively giving people deals that nobody knows about. And so I think that's when I talked about really maximizing that network. It's who has that data. And it's like, honestly, only people that companies trust.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's where it's that tribal knowledge. It's that you've smelled the diesel before. You've put the pennies inside the tread before to see if they're it hits the head of Kennedy and all those different things, right? Those tricks, right? You walk onto a yard and you throw some pennies on some back of tires and you talk to the terminal manager, says, hey, I need more trailers. And you say, well, I put a penny on there yesterday and these 4 trailers didn't even move. So,
and people don't realize that cost saving, like when you spend, and we were, I think, pretty close to $1 million a month in fuel. And when you think of just 20%, you're thinking 200 grand times 12, $2.4 million in cost savings. What could a company do with 2.4 million? Well, there's probably most of your executive salaries. There's that. Or you're trying to create new AI within your technology. You're looking at prioritizing a TMS, but you're not sure where to get the funds. You save 20% in fuel, you have the funds right there.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah, it's not like it's an investment that maybe happens in 2 or 3 years. It's immediate cash flow, immediate free up of capital to do so many other different things. It's amazing. I would say, just to answer one more thing on that, and maybe you'll have some insight into this. A lot of my frustration, to tell you the truth, is when I express the willingness to buy right now. There's not a lot of vendors out there that will respond to that. I mean, sometimes you have to beg these people to sell you something. And that, no kidding, is a frustration.
The customer service, and it's baffling to me. I mean, there's been times where even I built my house a year and a half ago, and I was looking for different suppliers of different things. And I'm like, I'm trying to buy what you sell. Why can't I get your attention? I'm trying to do what your business entails. And so, and my suppliers, I try to be picky. I want to be loyal. But at the same time, just like I tell any business, you still have to perform. You still have to have a great product and a great service at an understandable cost. And so sometimes these companies take advantage of loyalty. We had a fuel program with a certain company that was giving us a certain percentage off of their fuel. And we thought it was a great deal. And we were loyal for a long time. And no one wanted to ask the question, well, what about this competitor? And so, we made the introductions and we talked, and all of a sudden we weren't getting the attention that we thought we should have been getting from our current. We changed directions because there was an additional cost saving. And then all of a sudden it's, wait, hang on, don't leave me. I thought you were loyal. And I said, we're always loyal until you give us a reason not to be. And sometimes price, customer service, are you answering your phone? And honestly, the willingness to hunt, that's one thing that me being a prior athlete, and like, I love the hunt. I like someone telling me, hey, Tim, multi-temp trailers with roll doors just don't exist on the ground. I kind of want you to tell me that. I want you to tell me you can't find temperature controlled warehouse space in Minnesota that will let me do a month to month. When you tell me that, man, it is go time. Watch this.
Yeah,
and,
no is just a challenge to an athlete. No is just a challenge.
Oh my gosh. And that's why with this fuel, it's like, what if I told you that I could save you, we just can't find cost savings anywhere. All right, well, what if I told you, and so I've enjoyed sparking these giant question marks of, wait, tell me more. Because I think one thing that I bring to the table is credibility, that I don't say anything that I don't believe in. I do not put my family's lifeline on the line with selling a product or service that is not true. Because I can't afford to call up my friends at Mars or Dollar General or HelloFresh and offer them something that I have not put my family's life on to say, hey, babe, understand that if I make this introduction and this goes wrong, I will never have a chance to work with that customer again.
That's right.
And so I think that credibility that I bring, knowing that I'm a real person, I don't have this 10,000 employees. It's my credibility that I've gained to say, hey, this is real. And I'm putting my name on the line, and my LinkedIn network understands where I value that. And I'm excited to continue to make these discovery calls and watch this too good to be true story really go to fruition.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I used to be an athlete. You can't tell it anymore, but I love the challenge as well. Like, you can no way you're going to cut my fuel spend by 10 to 23%. It ain't going to okay, hold this. Let me show you something.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun. So, Tim, this is a final question, one I ask all my guests, right? What would you say as a final word of advice for our friends out there listening or watching today?
Oh man, I think, and I know I say it a lot. It's on my slogan: maximize your network. So many phone calls start off with, "This is what I do. This is what I sell. Are you interested?" And that's where it is. And it's looking for that transaction versus maximizing these relationships and understanding the pros and cons of the business. What are the challenges? What are the forecasts coming? And knowing that, honestly, I have to be able to say that my service might not be best for you, right? Because I want to have an honest, transparent relationship. And so I think that when you make these calls, and a lot of my network are those business development executives, those commercial executives, that in these hard times, you're told no 90% of the time in sales. And so a lot of that is because you're coming at it from a transactional approach versus saying, hey, I love what you're doing. Let's talk about what you're doing. What do you love about what you're doing? And what are some challenges? And when you hear those challenges and you come up with ideas, not sales, but just ideas. Hey, have you ever thought about this? And I think that relationship, so maximizing your relationship, I know it might be even cliche at this point, but I listen to so many calls and I see so many campaigns out there that are just, let me tell you what I can do for you.
Mhm.
And it's like, you haven't even learned what the problem is. You don't even have their trust for them to care what you say, because they have to trust what's coming out of your mouth. And so I think that relationships are huge.
So I always loved talking with you guys, collaborating, talking about challenges, how we can help. And that's the key to everything. How can you help? If you help enough people, you'll have everything you want, basically, is the way it works. And so we collaborate, and it's fun doing this work with you guys. So that's going to do it for our show today. Thanks for listening or watching, everybody. And we will see you again on the next one. Take care.
Right on. Peace.